I'm William Condee. I'm Director of Studies for the Honors Tutorial Program in Theater. The students in HTC are always very bright, energetic students who are a lot of fun to work with, who are interesting to work with, who are always challenging me as a professor and challenging the other students. And so it's very exciting to watch them work with each other and to bring their own ideas and their own energy to the classes, to the tutorials. There's never a sense of my having to teach them this material. The HTC students are always out there learning it on their own, engaging with it on their own. The way the tutorial program in theater is structured, the students, the first 2 years tend to be more structured around history of theater, about dramatic literature, so they're reading plays, studying ideas of theater, approaches to theater, ways of producing plays. And then the junior and senior year become much more focused into the students' individual course of study. A couple of the tutorials that to me are very interesting and work well in that regard are the very first quarter that a student's taking a tutorial, in the fall quarter of the freshman year. It's a tutorial called Ideas of Theater, and it's a way of understanding all kinds of other approaches to theater, not just the approach to theater that most students have had in high school and understand theater from high school, but understanding radically different approaches to theater. I often think of that tutorial as kind of taking a jackhammer to students' ideas of theater and getting them to look at theater from completely new perspectives and to understand there is no single thing called theater, there is no single idea called theater, but constantly over thousands of years, many different countries, many different civilizations, people keep asking the question, what is theater? And people keep defining it differently and keep understanding it differently. A second tutorial that I think works really well is in the sophomore year. I call it the Research Tools tutorial. And that's not necessarily a tutorial on how to go to the library and how to study at the library and find books and do footnotes and things like that. The question for it is, what kind of research does an actor have to do to be an actor? What kind of research does a playwright have to do to be a playwright? What kind of research does a director have to do to be a director? How do you go about it? In other words, it's not oriented towards the product. And in theater, we tend to be very goal-oriented, product-oriented, get the show up. Instead, that tutorial is focusing on how do we do it? What are the tools you need in order to accomplish this? And all of this culminates in the senior year, in which students are engaged in a year-long process of developing a whole a production that entails research into the nature of, into the context for the play, performing the play, and then writing about it. So what's very exciting for me as a tutor is looking at these students who begin their freshman year with a general knowledge of theater from very different backgrounds, different levels of understanding, coming out of high school, to then in the senior year taking ownership of a project that they work on for a year and develop a whole independent production that they really take ownership of and is completely based on their own interests and concerns about theater.